Reports, Finance, and Administrative Activities, number 2019-0254. The much-awaited Department of Public Works from Mr. Snooky Fauché.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to let you know I will be over my 10 minutes. I will try to make it as brief as possible. I chose to do something different this time. We're always taking a look back at what we've accomplished. Many of you and the residents out there know what we've done. So what I chose to do is take a look at our projects moving forward and to give you maybe a quick synopsis of some of the top things that we're working on. We're not up. Oh. All right, our subsurface drainage program so far has received 529 requests. Mr. Don Edwards has provided 480 preliminary engineering drawings. At this point, we've issued 164 construction permits, and out of those, 145 have been completed. Our Montz master drainage plan has been completed. We've identified 8 major projects to do in the Montz area. The biggest one is working with KCS Railroad to initiate new jack and bores at the Parish Line Canal. However, about 800 foot west is a 32-foot trestle, which we've identified, that has a very minimal amount of water going through it. We've had an initial meeting with St. John, and conceptually we agree that since we're moving a significant amount of St. John water, Natalie is very much open to an agreement with us to allow us to use that trestle. This will be a great help to us because our biggest issue is getting water across the KCS. We're getting ready to start our first project, which is the installation of 5x10 box culverts at Airline Highway and Evangeline Road. A lot of the water that's been sheet flowing across Evangeline Road is due to St. John water filling up those ponds. We feel that the 5x10 box culverts will prevent the sheet flow of that water, get it quicker across Evangeline Road into the pump station. And there it is, the 5x10 box culverts. The in-house engineering is complete. Scheduled installation is within 60 days. The critical path for this was ordering the culverts, which came in last week. So since we have those, we will be scheduling that installation. The Montz Levee bike path, August 8th, we did an initial inquiry to identify remobilization. Lee, Danny Abear, and the contractor got together. The 226 days of the river above being its 11-foot level is an unprecedented work stoppage. The monthly project reports had to continue. There is no caveat for not doing a monthly report. So Lee has been doing monthly reports for this bike path, although there has been no activity. The contractor is asking for 60 days to remobilize. He has to check on his biggest issue, or his critical path forward right now, is construction material. He has to check and see the availability and also the pricing on it, because it's been almost a year since we've been working on this project. He has agreed to provide us with a forward path within 30 days. Norco drainage study, the preliminary design work has been completed. Engineering design work is awaiting council approval, and you will see that is on your agenda for tonight. Engineers Canal Pump Station improvements, contractor scheduled to mobilize in mid-September. The critical path was the delivery of the new pump. Prep work that we decided to do in-house for the generator pad and some of the concrete work around the pump station has already been completed by us. We also have the generator on order, waiting for the construction to start. Engineers Canal Bank Stabilization, the preliminary design was submitted and engineering feedback is underway. The design work is ongoing, and Phase 1 will approximately be bid in first quarter of 2020. Fifth Street drainage improvements, the capital outlay funding was approved. We have approximately $450,000 of the $750 needed for this project. The other or remaining part has been submitted for grant application, and but we've already begun the engineering work. Dunleith Canal Stabilization 7. This project is completed with the exception of the final paperwork and payout. The Phase 8 bid is opening tomorrow. We will be scheduling or doing a construction schedule for start. The Linwood crossing was removed due to drainage concerns by some of the residents. They felt that was an impedance to drainage in the Dunleith Canal. We had planned on removing it after the Phase 8, but we just decided to go ahead and remove it, and that was done. Ormond Oaks ditch lining. We had the engineer propose us to install to look at three different plans. One is subsurface, which is being recommended by the engineer. We're also looking at concrete lining or concrete channels. Due to the location and the proximity close to the houses, we're trying to understand which one of these would be most economical and at the same time most feasible. Public Works is doing a follow-up to give the feedback for the forward plan. Destreha number 1 pump station discharge piping. The engineer design has been completed. We're actually awaiting a proposal from BLD due to the change in the public bid limitations. We believe the installation to be less than $250,000, which is our new limit for public bid laws, thanks to the Louisiana legislation and Ms. Mary Cluley. Appreciate that. Gary Smith led that initiative, and St. Charles Parish was given a $250 limit raised from the $150,000 limit. So it's a possibility we could actually do this work, contracting through our contract with BLD, and keep it below $250. The hydraulic bottleneck at Destreha number 2, the conceptual engineering is completed. We've begun the basic engineering design work, and permitting is underway. That is the realignment of the sump for Destreha number 2, due to us not being able to utilize the full potential of the pumps at that pump station. Off of Dunleith. Along with this project is pump station number 2 conveyance design. The conceptual is completed, and we're beginning design engineering work. This is actually the part of the Dunleith Canal that leads up to Destreha number 2. The area of the square area of that canal is going to be greatly increased, allowing us to retain more water. It'll act more like a sump than the actual just conveyance of the canal getting there. Hill Heights Ormond Nursing Home drainage. The conceptual in-house design was completed. We met with Ormond Nursing Home. They agree with our design and prepared to move forward. We also met with Hill Heights with the conceptual agreement almost 10 months ago. They also agreed to allow us a servitude to put new drainage through there. Right now, we're waiting for the proposed surveys. Once the surveys are complete, we will do appraisals on both pieces of property, and we will go back to Ormond Nursing Home and Hill Heights and present that to them. If, in fact, this is approved, sometimes next year you will see additional conveyance that is going to eliminate 120-degree angle and numerous 90-degree angles with a straight shot from the CN Railroad to the mouth of Dunleith. New Sarpy Pump Station additional pump. The pump has already been bid and completed. Survey work has begun. Evans Graves has already submitted the permit applications. Initial feedback from the Corps of Engineers and DNR is that all is good. Scheck-Snyder Pump Station additional pump engineering design has begun. There's a little bit more work here due to the possible need to increase the sump. Surveying has begun, and Evans Graves has also submitted the application to Corps of Engineers for this pump increase also. The Ormond Center project is looking at the culverts underneath the parking lot at the Ormond Center, which run from the trestle at the railroad track to Highway 90. These culverts are possibly corroded and collapsing. So what we're doing is internally we're going to clean the culverts. Stewart Engineering is going to launch an inspection. If the culverts are good enough to be concrete, if the culverts are good enough to be lined, we're going to line them in place. If they're not, then we're going to provide a forward plan to actually change those culverts out. We will probably be going with a much larger culvert and a box culvert through that center. It's located right in between Uchi Sushi and the pet supply place. It goes straight through from the trestle to Airline Highway, and there are a set of culverts that go underneath Airline Highway. No, it's between, it's actually right next to the car wash. The Ormond Lakes Pond dredging work is continuing, and we have on-site progress meetings which continue every 2 weeks. The Ormond drainage study, the initial modeling is completed. We met with engineers to review the computer modeling and provide updates as well as identify historical problem areas. This was a unique meeting in the fact that we included local resident engineers who live in the area and provided input also. The Ed Reed project, finalizing agreement with the foundation. We're waiting on the foundation to raise funds and begin their part of the project. Public Works is responsible for the engineering review lead internally and the roadway design. Oak Street Pump Station in St. Rose. The temporary hydraulic pump was installed. Installation of the pump station is complete. There's an Entergy electrical issue which is being worked to resolve. As a matter of fact, it was resolved today, and we are probably only a couple of weeks to start up of that new pump station. Oakland and Fairfield pumps and their discharge pipes. We received preliminary plans for the 4 casings we need to cross through the CN Railroad. We're going to be increasing them from 14-inch to 24-inch at Fairfield. At East Oakland. At Fairfield, it's an 18-inch pump, and we are going to be putting 2 24-inch pumps in there also. So that'll be 4 casings that we're going to be implementing there, along with upgrades to both of those pump stations. We received the geotechnical proposal on evaluating, and design is continuing. Turtle Pond Pump Station. The pump station's requiring redesign with redundant pump installation. There was 1 pump at this pump station, and it was a makeshift station that was done many years ago. It failed during the Hurricane Barry event. We put additional hydraulic pumps there. Because of that failure, we have that pump out for rebuild, and we've decided to just go ahead and tear that station down and actually build a new station with a sump and a redundant pump. We're awaiting council approval, and I believe that is on the agenda tonight also. Airline Highway Drainage Project. You have the final servitude tonight on your agenda. It's 5 crossings to increase the drainage conveyance by approximately 50% from Meteor Road to the Parish line. DOTD is projected to start this in the 4th quarter of 2019. Approximately 80% of this is being funded by New Orleans Regional Planning Commission. AMA pump station design. The preliminary design is completed. Design work, I think, is at 90% right now. We're awaiting feedback from Lee so that we can get final design and probably 1st quarter of next year go to bid on this pump station also. The AMA-Pereira Canal System. As you know, AMA is enclosed by the Hurricane Protection Levee. We only have one outlet, and that is Sellers Canal gate. So when that gate is closed, the internal drainage basically doesn't have anywhere to go except the reservoir area, which is the swamp area just north of Highway 90. North. Yeah, south of the railroad track and north of Highway 90. Due to that, in an event of rainfall, we realized there was no water to go, so we got 2 permits from the Corps of Engineers. One to clean the Alice Street ditch, which goes from River Road all the way to the AMA pump station. We're now cleaning the BNSF ditch from the diversion all the way to the AMA pump station. The trees and underbrush have been cleared, and within the next 30 days, we will be bringing excavators in there to start the devegetation of that area. West Bank enclosed levee system. Due to the incident of emergency of Hurricane Barry, the Parity Canal was closed to 7.5 and is awaiting the Parity gate structure with approximate bidding sometimes in October. This, and along with the gaps on the pipelines, provided 7.5-foot protection for that entire area and tying it into the Sunset Drainage levee. Mimosa Pump Station and Culverts Project, the parish removed and installed 800-foot 48-inch culverts that were found to be over-deflected. An additional 800-foot of piping was installed a few months later to complete that project all the way on the through the discharge side for the open ditch that was put there. Highway 52, or you may already know as the Palmallard Road Revitalization Project. We're waiting on the surveyor to finish Phase 1. Subsurface drainage is in final design for Phase 3 in conjunction with the Bear Linear Park. Public Works will be installing that segment of subsurface drainage along Palmallard Road. It's delayed presently due to the Bear project construction schedule continuing. It was set for the summer so that we would not interfere with the bus schedules and the additional traffic during that time. It was not allowed to go forward due to Bear schedule, but we are scheduling it for sometimes possibly in the near future or at the very latest when school lets out in June of 2020. Highway 90 sinkholes started construction today. We are considering a change order to include the additional sinkhole in front of Majors. That is actually both sides in front of the First National Bank, as well as on the Majura side. So we are looking at both of those sinkholes to see what that may entail. And due to the cost of re-engineering and rebidding, we may just consider a change order to include that. The Zalman's bulkhead preliminary design was conducted, our meeting was conducted with the engineers. Right now we are awaiting a draft report from them. The electrical building at the East Bank Public Works office, we received the 90% plans and we're awaiting the 90% specs. When we get that, we're planning to proceed as expeditiously as possible due to still needing a place to house our spare motors. The West Bank Yard building, the conceptual design was completed. A location has been identified. And presently, we are getting feedback internally on what the layout of that building looks like. Due to the significant issues we had during the Hurricane Barry event, we are looking at possibly having housing there to put our employees so that we could divide them between night shift and day shift and keep a tighter supervision on things that we were unaware of, I'll say that, that was happening, and make sure that constant communication is consistent and that it's not being modified as it leaves supervision down to the foreman level. 2019 road maintenance, construction has been bid and is scheduled to start within the next 90 days. The first road that'll be started is Evangeline Road. We will be completely resurfacing from KCS to CN railroad tracks. Lakewood Boulevard rehab, preliminary design was completed. There's a significant base issue and foundation issue with this road. It's going to probably be a standalone project and a significant one at that. The design was submitted to New Orleans Regional Planning for funding. The project cost is approximately $5.6 million. RPC has actually provided federal funding, and it looks like it's slated for 2022, and approximately $4.2 million of this project will be paid with federal funds through regional planning. Willowdale Highway 90 turn lane, preliminary design has been completed. It was submitted to NOP and New Orleans Regional Planning Commission. I don't know why I can't just say NORPC, but for funding, we have approximately 90% of this is funded, and funding is slated for 2021. The dog park and road extension, conceptual design has been completed. Engineering is ongoing. We met with DOTD for a joint use agreement. That has gone extremely well. Right now we're waiting on DOTD's comments or approvals. We also met with the developer at Exten for the additional servitude that we need to put in the road. Site-specific weather stations. I don't know if any of you have heard about this or not, but we actually, at the request of the parish president, went out and researched small weather stations to give us real-time, immediate feedback so that we can pinpoint rainfall. We've taken it one step further, and our automation engineering department is going to include level indication so that we can put these in some of our canals. Right now we have indication and we have weather data wherever our pump stations are located. But we are losing a significant amount of information for rainfall that is occurring in Hornville, Kelowna, Ama, as well as all of the St. Charles Parish area near the river. We believe that these weather stations will help us identify and pinpoint where the rainfall is actually occurring. The level indications in the canals will allow us to understand how the water is moving through the canals. We can plot conveyance and understand where we're having hang-ups or delays in the water actually getting to the pump stations. So by plotting this data, we'll be able to identify our conveyance issues better. The installation of the first one was done at the Public Works office, and we've created a dashboard. The dashboard, when we start the installation of the other pump stations, will be available to the public. Norco Montz Spillway Road. We're getting a lot of questions on this. We did an initial investigation. Then we actually went out and walked the road where we could from both sides. Lisa Rang did an approximate estimation. If we did all of the work in-house without engineering, without bidding, and without design work, it would cost us approximately $396,000. This is above our internal bid limitations because we're limited to $250,000. The additional costs and timing to engineer in place for public bid is probably going to push this close to $500,000. Break the bid laws. You sound like the chairman. Yeah, I had that question asked to me at the state level. They said, well, if you have these projects, why don't you just break them up in phases? And I said, Mr. Chairman, you do realize that's against the law. So he kind of retracted it. But yeah, we can't do that. So that's as quickly as I could to give you a rundown. We have a weekly meeting to track the progress of these projects on every Monday morning at 8 o'clock. You're welcome to attend. But I felt we always take a rear view look at what we've done, and I felt the timing was right to look at what we have going forward instead of where we have been.
All right.
Any
Well,
questions?
Mr. Fauché, I love this new format. I love the new take on this. This is a good, vision of what's moving forward. I have one question, not question really. So the Lakewood Drive overhaul, which is much anticipated,
Yes.
we originally were only anticipating 900 million from RPC. So we lobbied, 900,000.
Yeah, 900,000.
900,000, and they've upped our amount to 4.2, which
But-
is, right?
That was because the initial project was slated at about 1.4 when we started doing the engineering work, and we understand that it's not just a traffic impact, it is actually a degradation of the foundation of the road
That's
that
right.
needs to be repaired to provide a lasting road.
Yep, yeah, we've really dug into this topic, and I think it's more than just, do we go put some new cement panels? It's way more than that at this point.
It is.
So the 2022 date is what we're anticipating when we're slated to get those funds and when the project begins, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we have to start planning for that now.
We are in full design engineering right now. So we're going to continue moving forward with a shelf-ready project.
Great.
And just anticipate, you can't argue with about 70% of the project being paid by federal funds.
Absolutely not, yeah.
Right.
That one's definitely a no-brainer. Well, we look forward to that. I think the residents up and down that portion of Lakewood will be very pleased. I think the last time that was replaced, or maybe it's still the original material from 72, maybe, something like that, so.
I think there
This
was a
is
project
much
in
weighted.
1995 or 96.
Pieces and parts,
In
right.
pieces and parts,
But it
yes.
hasn't been overhauled since 72. Yeah.
Correct.
Great. Very, very happy. We worked pretty hard on that one, so glad. Ms. Cluley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You talked about the weather stations. How many weather stations do you think they'll start with?
Presently, we're identifying 30 locations to kick this off. The funding is going to come partially from planning and zoning, the coastal protection. They had input as well as EOC to where we have repetitive flooding. We definitely want weather stations in those areas, as well as the three criteria was emergency response due to repetitive flooding. Areas where we do not have data currently due to not having any pump stations. And in our large conveyance canals so that we can plot water levels.
I want to thank you for getting the permitting and the drainage going on by the railroad in AMA to open that up. Yeah, that's important, and I think, I don't think the residents realize how poorly the drainage was going to be once that gate closed, so I think it's important. Thanks for getting that in place, appreciate it.
Well, it'll give us the opportunity during a significant rain event combined with a storm event where we have to close the sector gate. We're going to install a pump at the diversion and actually pump from this canal directly into the diversion. So it allows us a true outlet to remove the water.
Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Snooker, you listed like several drainage projects, and I know we've done things in-house, and with the new thing that occurred on the state level, like those box culverts in Norco, 5x10s, is that, I guess, smaller than what y'all did by you guys, and the larger ones, y'all gonna do that in-house or split?
We'll do it in-house, and it's the same size. We
Same size.
installed 5x10s there. We installed 4x10s on Hackberry, and trying to think of somewhere else. Well, we actually installed about 500 foot of 60-inch culverts. Only about 200 foot of the 60-inch culverts. The rest was the moving of the Hackberry Canal. We're doing larger projects in-house. We're gaining experience there. We started off putting some specialized teams together that had more experience, as well as myself supervising these jobs, to ensure safety and that we had the right people doing the right work. It's now becoming common for us to do some of these projects that we're working on. So we're trying to address areas like we just sent letters out to Dixie Drive and Bayou Estates to ask for their permission to come in and do surveys. So we're going to start surveying some of these drainage servitudes that we're not sure exist. We have Phil Dufran's actually doing the research for us and following up on that. We've done that in Destreha. So we're going to continue looking at the internal drainage issues versus hurricane protection. That's becoming a mature project. We've finished 3 of the 4 pump stations on the West Bank levee. We've went through and cleaned a lot of internal conveyance now that we have the Borough Canal there. And we're fortunate because a lot of the West Bank the West Bank drainage abuts right up against that Borough Canal. We're, I think, 7 pump stations. We're either in redesign or in upgrade right now on the East Bank. Internal drainage is a significant priority for us.
And lastly, with the, I guess, resources, doing work internally, getting outside resources, the permits that you apply for, those things are good for how long?
Most of the permits have a 2-year start date, so we have to notify the Corps of Engineers and DNR that we've started within the 2-year time period. We have 5 years to complete it. Right now, with our asset management program, which is one of the slides I forgot to put in there, we will be putting a task order or like a work order that will spit out at the 4-year period. So that we can keep these permits evergreen. So when it comes to 4 years, we will start the renewal process.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ms. Fletcher?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hopefully I can speak from everybody on the council when I say thank you for being proactive with your department and bringing these projects to the forefront for all of our districts. I am particularly know that District 6 is probably one of the hardest ones hit with the drainage. And for that, I do thank you, especially for taking months under your wings and the administration's wings and bringing it to the forefront again. So I do thank you.
Ms. Benedetto?
Well, I'm a piggyback off of Tracy. Certainly, you've been busy and productive director since you've started, and I just wanted to thank you for taking Public Works to a new level since you've been in. You have definitely showed your pride in this parish, and I thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Gibbs?
I don't want to, for the sake of sounding redundant, I'm compelled. Thank you so much for doing what you've done for us as well. I can speak for many of the constituents in Destreha, where they were not very pleased after the very first flood. They have really changed their attitude and appreciate everything you've done. So thank you. Believe me, thank you. Appreciate it.
We have put in a work order for 37 new high-flow drains. So we're going to be, what we've done and what we have completed in the Dunleith area, we're going to be extending, and hopefully that'll solve the problem at Ormond Boulevard in Shadow and Ormond Boulevard in Hermitage with the new high-flow drains.
That's awesome. Well, last thing, I always tell you how much I appreciate what you've done, but your team. Yeah. You're only as good as what your team is. So
absolutely.
So you're a hell of a leader, but You got a great team behind you, man.
We
Thank you.
we found great chemistry, and because of that, things just have really come together.
All right, well, any more council discussion? Okay, seeing none, I just, again, want to extend a second and third and fourth, I think probably 9 thanks from all of us. The administration has been really good to us over the last 4 years, especially in relation to Public Works. You guys are there when we need you. So, we
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank y'all.